In 2018, the Drug Enforcement Agency created a division to help enforce controlled substance laws in states like North Dakota and Minnesota.
Valley News Team's Bobby Fallett shares the alarming trend they've seen and explains why it's important to talk with your kids.
Year over year, DEA officials have noticed a troubling trend.
It seems as though we continue to take the pills and the fentanyl powder off the street, the methamphetamine off the street, but it still seems to keep coming back.
Emily Murray says that's due to outside forces and not necessarily because the drugs are being made here.
Fentanyl in particular, the precursors are coming from China. They go down to Mexico, and from there they're pushed up into our communities. Same thing, methamphetamine is coming up from Mexico.
In 2023, officials in North Dakota seized 21,000 more fentanyl pills than just the year before, 30 pounds more meth, and 2.5 pounds more cocaine. Across the Red River in Minnesota, there was a 234,000 fentanyl pill increase. There was a drop in pounds of meth seized, but then a 276-pound increase in cocaine. And Murray says the fentanyl pills are often disguised as something else.
It's important for people to realize that of the counterfeit or the fake pills that we're seeing out there, 7 out of 10 have been tested with potentially lethal doses of fentanyl in them.
Murray says that now it's an important time for parents to talk with their kids about the dangers of fentanyl and other drugs, and also speak with them about what they could potentially see online or on certain apps that they may have on their phones.
What we primarily see now are the oxycodone pills, or the pills, I should say, that are fake, that are made to look like oxycodone. So they're blue and they've got the appropriate markings on them to make them look like legitimate prescription medication.
Reporting in Fargo, Bobby Fallett, Valley News Live.
The numbers in that report, by the way, are from the DEA's Omaha division.
Officials say the numbers could go up based on what State Highway Patrol reports as well.